Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.
That's me, Tiberius.
And welcome to the Tiberius Show today. And I'm your host, Tiberius Boy. And as always, we're looking at various jobs and how they affect the world around us. Today's guest is going to be very interesting. We're going to talk to a senior principal program lead of external research and development. Do you have any idea what that long name is? Well, of course I don't, but let's find out. Let me introduce our next guest, the one, the only, the amazing Gary Gramaggio. Did I say that right?
You said that correct. Very good.
Ooh,
That's right.
Sweet.
Not everybody gets that.
Okay. Well, thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you having me on, and you have a great setup here. I'm really impressed.
Okay, well, can you explain what this is? What a senior principal program leader, whatever, I can't say it, is? Well, is it like the same or different than an innovator?
Good. So I would say that there's a lot of ways. So I work in corporate America. I work for a corporation. And so there's a lot of ways to do innovation. And our team, or the team that I'm a part of, focuses on researching things that are probably further out than what my company's ready to like implement or use. And so we'll test it in small settings and rapid settings in order to understand, hey, should we do any more of this?
So what sparked your interest in becoming a lead of external research and development?
Nothing. So I actually didn't go to school for that. I didn't even know that there's something like that existed. I went to school for, today they call it data science. When I graduated, it was just called machine learning, computer programming, applied math. And I kind of just stumbled onto it by accident.
So I read that you test new technologies. Give me some examples, please.
Yeah, so there's some really public examples that if you were to go online, you would find out that our team has been helping our company test things like autonomous delivery. And one of my teammates, actually, she spearheads that effort. Like, can you imagine drones or autonomous robots on sidewalks delivering a product to you? And one thing in particular that I get to be a part of is developing training material in virtual reality. And so in particular, the folks that we're testing this with are young people. Not all of them, right? But they're like really young, maybe under the age of 25. And so we think that virtual reality training could be a way to engage them more in training.
Okay. So how do you decide what new technologies you're going to review?
That's a very good question. So we actually look at, because I'm in the restaurant industry, I look at what are patterns, what are trends that are happening that matter to the restaurant industry? What are new technologies that are beginning to take shape that could be important to us one day? And so we kind of put them together, and then we also look at what are goals that our company has. So based on those three things, we identify areas we want to focus on.
So how does it work? Like, do you delegate the process of testing the technology, or are you giving guidelines?
These are really good questions. So actually, because our team was new, like we were able to be a part of it, building it from the ground up, we got the opportunity to write our own guidelines, but guidelines that mattered to our company. And then we actually get some people will identify a cool technology to test, and they'll give it to somebody else to test it. I'm very grateful that we get to identify technologies, and then in some cases we get the opportunity to actually test it ourselves. So it's not just like I have an idea, I'm going to give it to somebody else, or somebody else is giving me an idea. We get to do both, and I really find that interesting.
Okay. So what's the best part about being the lead of research and development?
I like to say that I love how much I really like how much I love and hate my job. So I love that I get to test new things that maybe nobody in my company has been able to use or test. And I hate how hard it is to test it because it always breaks. There's no precedent. There's nothing that I can follow or that our team can follow to say this is how you do it. We're literally writing the playbook, and that makes it really hard. And so I actually enjoy both.
Well, if a kid wanted to get involved in what you do, what should they do next, or what should they study?
What's really interesting is that folks who work in this area have all kinds of backgrounds. So STEM, financial, fill in the blank. So I don't think there's necessarily one way. I do think that it helps if you do have a technical, I mean by technical, I mean like engineering, computer, it helps because of how many things, for example, have AI, artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
But it is not a requirement. I think that one of the most important things to be involved in this space is being okay with a lot of ambiguity. Like nobody's telling you what to do. Like you have to look at the technology that's probably really new to your setting, to your company, fill in the blank. And you have to feel comfortable with stumbling your way into a playbook of how to actually use it.
I see. So, what is one thing you think kids should know about the lead research and development role?
I don't know if this answers your question, but I think what this question made me think about was people have asked me, "Hey, Gary, how did you develop creativity or innovation or etc.?" And so my perspective is that it's not unique to me or anybody on our team. I actually think that because of the way that I view the world, that I was made by a creative creator. I think that his way of being is embedded in every human being. And so what I would say is I think that the innovation and the creativity that it takes to be in the role are actually already inside of you.
Now, here seems like a good time to take a quick commercial break. Let's hear a word from our sponsors.
So you want to make an ad for your company, right?
Yeah, Tiberius, you want to help me?
Okay, so what's the name of the company?
PPWND.
PP what?
Professional Pressure Washing and Detailing.
So you like clean driveways?
Yeah, like that. We pressure wash commercial buildings and semi-truck and trailers.
So how would someone get a hold of you?
They can visit my site at ppwnd.com or call me at 407-900-7793.
So I just tell them to call you at 407-900-7793 or visit ppwnd.com?
Yeah, Tiberius, you got it.
Cut! That's a wrap! Just use that!
Oak Ridge Gun Range is a family-oriented shooting range that has been in business for over 30 years. They specialize in basic firearm training and offer numerous services such as consignments, gun trades, gunsmithing, and concealed weapon classes. I even got my training for gun safety at Oak Ridge Gun Range. Great customer service, and firearm safety is what they do best. So find out more at oakridgegunrange.com.
And we are back here talking with Gary Gramaggio, a senior principal program lead of research and development. Now, Gary, what is the least favorite part of your job?
Oh man. So the truth is, you have to, in order to test a new technology and to track the results well, you have to be very detailed, very pedantic. So you have to like step by step capture what you're doing, and that's a part that really I have to push through and make. You got to do it right.
Yeah.
I got to push through, and I wouldn't say it's my favorite.
So, which is more fun to do, researching a system or developing it to be better?
Ooh, so what's interesting about that question is our team doesn't make any of the technologies. We find, typically, not always, but typically we find startups, they're already doing it. So our role is heavy startup partnership. And I think that maybe my answer is a hybrid of both parts of your question, is that I think what's really fun is to then first find these technologies that are relevant to my company to solve business challenges, and then actually being able to test it and see what happens. Like how fast does it break, or can it actually, after some iterations, meet the objective?
Mm-hmm. Well, what's more fun to do, researching a I just asked that?
Reset.
Oh, crap. Okay.
No problem. We'll reset in 5, 4, 3.
So, what's the most misunderstood part about your role?
So there is sometimes a misconception that I don't know if this reference makes any sense to you, but there's a misconception that maybe our team is walking around sipping on lattes and a pair of jeans, checking out startups, the latest startups. And our role, there's a lot of grind to it because you have to do a lot of legal contract negotiations. You have to understand a lot of things about the impact on privacy, on cybersecurity, insurance requirements, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think that sometimes folks that come with me to different trips where we can visit startups see, oh, look, there's a humanoid that's moving. This is so cool. This is what he does. But there was a lot of grind that went to get to that actual event.
So what's the craziest thing that has happened while you were doing your job?
I can think of several, but I'll give you one. So when we first started to test autonomous delivery using these little robots, I'll just call them sidewalk robots, really compact, I was shocked at the number of grown adults and even teenagers that thought it was okay to come up to them and kick them and knock them over. I thought if anything, people would be perplexed or just like, wow, this is really happening.
Yeah.
But that somebody thought I can just kick this over and try to break it, that truly shocked me.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who do that. It's kind of like the kicking rock, like you miss the rock and you're like, aw, but like kicking robots over, not nice. It's not good.
Expensive.
Yeah, very. Yeah, very. Also, people stealing the robot itself and then just, yeah, society is weird nowadays. But who can you say was the person that helped drive your career the most and why?
I love this question because my first boss out of college, shout out to John Featherson, my first boss out of college, he did something for me that I'm very grateful that he did. I think that God put him in my path intentionally. He helped draw out of me talents and abilities that I didn't know I had. And he also gave me a lot of margin to make mistakes. And so that combination of drawing out hidden talents and giving me the grace to make a lot of mistakes was really helpful to me.
All right. Well, what was the best advice you've ever received, and who gave you that advice?
I hate to reuse the same person, but since I'm thinking on my feet, and maybe if we come back to this question, I can give you a second person. One of the best advice that he actually, it wasn't a professional, it was personal. So what my first boss shared with me was, hey, every single person will naturally, without trying, naturally end up being an old grumpy person. And the only way you do not become that person is if you're intentionally choosing to live differently every day. Do nothing, Gary, you would be an old grumpy man. Choose to live differently, you won't be that person.
So what was the very first job that you've ever had?
The very first job I ever had was, so I'm a child of immigrants. And so when my dad brought me over, he was an accountant in Guatemala where I was born. But when he came here, that degree meant nothing. So he did whatever he had in his hand to do. So he worked in landscaping in South Florida. And so when I was around the age of 11, 12, I started spending my summers working in landscaping. And it was hot, sweaty, dirty work, but it taught me a lot of work ethic that I'm grateful that I got that opportunity.
Yeah. Well, was there anything you learned from that job that helped you to be better at your current job?
Man, so when you think about having to be out in the hot, humid, mosquito-infested South Florida weather, doing landscaping from 7 a.m. sometimes to 6 or 7 p.m., then when I got to college and I got to, if you will, work or study inside of an air-conditioned library, and now my job, I work in an air-conditioned building, I feel like being able to work hard and put in long hours when I need to is something that I learned to do in a harder setting. So I feel like the current setting is like I almost did a harder job before I got to what I'm doing now.
So what message do you want to tell children all over the world about doing the work that you do?
I think that what I would like to tell kids all over the world is the only reason I'm able to test interesting things is because there are people who had the courage to follow their dreams and launch their own company, a startup. And most startups fail. And yet there's many people out there willing to take the risk and do it. And so I would encourage kids, man, if you have a dream and idea about how you can use, for example, artificial intelligence to help humanity, or make energy cheap and less pollution, whatever it is, I would encourage you to do it, because the world needs people who have the courage to strike out on their own and launch their own company.
Well, on that note, let's do a quick break to pay some bills.
Pay the bills.
The Tiberius Show would like to thank one of their dedicated sponsors, Custom Designs Orlando. These guys are on Mills Avenue and do all sorts of stuff, ranging from photo ID badges, engraved signs, custom braille ADA signs, vinyl lettering to trophies and awards. The cool part about Custom Designs is they can ship products all over the United States. You can reach them at 407-898-0373 and tell them that
Tiberius
sent you.
Over 40 years, Lighthouse Central Florida has provided education, independent life skills, and job training to thousands of Central Floridians who live with blindness or any degree of vision loss. Whether it's picking out clothes in the morning or just moving around your community and serving Orange, Seminole, and Osceola counties, contact Lighthouse Central Florida at 407-898-2483 or visit them online at lighthousecfl.org.
And we're back with Gary Gramaggio, Senior Principal Program Lead of Research and Development. Okay. So I read on your bio that you work for Chick-fil-A. I love their chicken nuggets, and especially their waffle fries. Must say, they're really nice.
It's good.
But do you get free food all the time?
It depends. So Chick-fil-A's...
So it's a yes.
It's a yes with an asterisk.
Okay.
So I work. So Chick-fil-A's home office is in Atlanta. So if you live in Atlanta and you go to the home office, they serve you. There's food there all day that you don't have to pay for. It's kind of like the perk of working there at the office. And way before Google and Facebook, etc., were doing this, Chura Cathy, the guy who started Chick-fil-A, he was already doing that. So he was ahead of his time.
Wow.
Yeah,
Huh.
good man.
Okay. So while working for Chick-fil-A, what was the one thing that happened in your career that you did not expect?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I went to school for what's now called data science. It was just applied math, machine learning, statistics when I was studying it. And when I was finishing graduate school, I realized, you know what? I think there's a lot of people that really enjoy writing computer programs as their job. But I realized that for me was more like a hobby, and somehow I made a hobby into a career, and that's not what I meant to do. And so I wanted to stop, but then, my wife, she gave me encouragement and said, hey, Gary, just finish. You're almost done, and we'll figure it out. So my intention Tiberius was always to, when I started working, do my job as a data scientist and earn the opportunity to move into, I'll say, the more business side. And so what I didn't expect, that again, now it's the third time, going back to my first boss, John Featherson, I told him that. I was like, hey, John, I don't want to write computer programs for Chick-fil-A for the rest of my career. I like to do something else. It's more on the business side. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
And he had no problem with that. And in fact, within just the first week of working at Chick-fil-A, he gave me that chance to begin to migrate into more business, the more business side of Chick-fil-A. And to give you an example, I had never I didn't go to school for negotiating contracts, like large-scale contracts. And he started to teach me the ropes. And so I'm really grateful for that.
Dude, your first boss sounds like a really good guy.
He was a fantastic guy. I owe him a lot.
Dude. So, how'd you get the job in research and development with Chick-fil-A? I mean, do you have to test a lot of foods?
Oh, that would be fantastic. We actually have a team that develops new menu products.
Ooh.
And they get to test it. And what's really cool, in fact, if you guys are ever in Atlanta when I'm in Atlanta, I'd love to give you a tour of our home office. And I can take you to the kitchen where they actually test new products, right? Now, we have to land it right on the date, right, when they're making a new product to be tested. But no, I unfortunately don't get the chance to test a lot of food. Instead, what I get to test are technologies that can help Chick-fil-A sell more chicken faster, provide you a better experience. So the way that I got my job is, as I mentioned before, I was hired to be a data scientist, and I wanted to be more on the business side of things. And so a new team was formed at Chick-fil-A that ended up being called this team External Research and Development. And I was given the opportunity to join that team, and I'm so grateful that I did, because I had no idea that I was going to be a part of gaining new abilities and skills that I didn't know existed.
Okay, so I need you to tell me, since you work at Chick-fil-A and you've tasted a lot of foods from Chick-fil-A, what is your favorite item on the menu?
So, I hope I don't sound like common or like what everybody says, but I really love our Chick-fil-A deluxe spicy sandwich.
Ooh.
I get it every time I go there with my family. I mean, sometimes I'll get a salad, but I'm really all about that spicy chicken sandwich and waffle fries with Chick-fil-A sauce.
Yeah, I can't handle spice, but the deluxe chicken, really good. I love them. So, out of all the systems that you've researched and helped develop, well, which do you have the most hope will greatly influence technology for the future?
I'm going to be a little selfish here and reframe the question. So one of the things that I'm really excited about is how when we get the chance to test what startups are developing that are relevant to Chick-fil-A, we get the chance to help influence how they think about developing their product. So instead of letting, for example, Amazon, Walmart, or other big companies have almost complete say or influence over these younger companies that are emerging and developing, what I'm excited about is that we get to come in, partner with them, and influence them so that what they're developing are things that would help us provide phenomenal customer experience. And so that may not always be, and I'm not saying that it doesn't matter to Walmart and Amazon. I'm just saying those, because of their size, they can over influence, and I'm glad that we get the chance to influence the future of some startups.
Okay. So what is the biggest mistake that you've ever made, and how did it change you as a person?
Oh, wow. Is this like a personal question, professional question?
Both.
Both? Okay. I got to think about that, because I've made a lot of mistakes.
Everyone does.
Yeah, that's right. So I would say that, I'll start personal first, is it okay? So personally, my biggest mistake was that when sometime around middle school and high school, I stopped trying in school. And I started to get failing grades, and I was going into, I was at risk of being held back and not even graduating from high school. And so what turned that around was me giving my life to Jesus. But what happened from that is that, Tiberius, when I made it to college, I had to start in community college because my GPA was on the floor, like really bad. And with other peers of mine, maybe a peer of mine could study for one class, say 2 hours a week, and they were good. They were getting A's. Not me. I had to make up all those years that I had been messing around. So for that same class, I was having to study 10, 12 hours a week. Right? It was very different. And so I can remember sitting in that library just frustrated, sometimes even crying. It's like, why did I have to do it the hard way? So I'm grateful that part of my life has passed. But that not taking advantage of where I was at and giving my best when I could ended up costing me. And then professionally speaking, let me think about what is a mistake. And the question was what I regret, right? Did I regret?
Yeah.
Or that taught me the most? Professionally speaking, I might say, hopefully this answers the question. I think that if I could go back in time, I would tell Gary, who's 19, 20 years old and getting his undergrad degree, hey, don't go to grad school. Finish your bachelor's and go work for a startup. And the reason I would tell Gary that is because I now realize that you learn so much from a startup. It's almost like hitting 1, 2, 3 graduate MBAs at I don't even know, like degrees, because you have to learn so many things because you're working in a small company and everybody does multiple jobs. So I wish I had done that, and then maybe going back to grad school later. But I definitely would have liked to have gone to a startup first.
Okay, well, is there anything else you think my listeners should know about you and what you do?
Yeah, definitely. So, I do get the chance to work with emerging new technologies that could be relevant to Chick-fil-A, help us, sell more chicken, provide a better customer experience, and all that's cool. But what I enjoy the most is our company believes strongly in having a positive impact on everybody that we come in contact with. And what's really cool is that sometimes, not all the time, this doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes, in Silicon Valley, where all these emerging technologies are launching from or being invested into, there could be a bit of a bravado that exists. Think Elon Musk. And so we get to come in. I hope what happens, I hope that one day somebody tells me this is what actually happens, is that we get to come in and provide a different perspective on how to do business. Even though these are small companies that we're working with, we never try to use our bigger size and impose ourselves on them, take advantage of them. And so we do try to live out our corporate purpose of having a positive impact on everybody that we come in contact with, even with business sectors that may not be accustomed to that.
Well, do you have a Facebook or a website for my listeners who want to follow you?
So, fortunately, I'm lame here. And so I have a LinkedIn profile.
Ooh.
Not a Facebook or on the gram. I'm not on IG. I'm not on that.
I'm not on Instagram.
But I think that if your listeners were ever Googling Chick-fil-A, something like along the lines of Chick-fil-A testing new technologies, I would hope that a percentage of those articles that define our team was able to participate in that.
Well, what is that one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
Oh man, you got great questions.
Oh yeah.
What is the one question? I would say that, and I'm trying to think of it as a kid. So I would say, first of all, I work at a restaurant company. So you didn't tell me about what kind of foods I like to eat. So I love to eat food from all over the world.
Oh.
And I'm trying to influence my family to do the same. So I try to take my family out to eat at Indian restaurants, Korean restaurants, different types of Japanese restaurants, Nigerian restaurants. Hey, I can go on and on and on. I love food. I love to meet with people over food. I
hope you love food if you work at Chick-fil-A.
That's right. And it doesn't have to be spicy, but I definitely want it to have a lot of flavor.
Yeah. Flavor's good. Well, thank you, Gary, for being my special guest. Can you stick around for Math Corner?
Let's do it.
Aw, Dad, my computer's slow again and I can't play my games.
Call Your Computer Solutions today, and we will scan for viruses and clean that computer up remotely and make it fast again. Our phone number is 407-826-0810.
Thanks, Dad. My computer's fast again. Now I can do my homework. Thanks for calling Your Computer Solutions at 407-826-0810.
Tiberius' favorite subject, it's Math Corners!
And now it's time for Math Corners. Thank you, Gary, for helping me with Math Corners. And this week, we're going to do some more multi-step word problems. My dad is always going to find new problems for me to solve. And today, we're going to talk about research.
Let's do it.
Well, a researcher has a total of 40 hours a week to work on research projects. He currently has 3 projects. Project A takes 12 hours a week. Project B takes 10 hours a week. And Project C takes 8 hours a week. How many total hours are already dedicated to projects each week? And how much time does he have for new projects?
Well, I think I'm going to let you take this.
Okay. Well, first, this is a real-world problem because, well, everyone needs to manage, like, their own time when at work, right? Well, first, define the total of time that the 3 current projects take. So that would be 12 plus 10, 22, and add 8 for the project C. And that's 30 total hours a week, I think. And then second, you subtract the 30 from the 40 available hours. So 40 minus 30 is 10. That means there's 10 hours extra each week to work on other projects. That's within the 40 hours. There should be more.
No overtime.
No overtime. Boss says no overtime.
Okay.
So, Gary, do you have to do time management equations when you're working?
Well, I definitely have deadlines. So you can say that I try to manage against deadlines. That's right. Get it done.
Get it done. Get it done on time, too. Remember, kids, stay in school. Don't turn in stuff late. That's points off.
That's right.
Well, my teacher said that I would use math every day. But how do you use math with your work?
Oh, man. I hope my kids don't watch this. So I would say that I'll probably use math. Like if I kid you not, if I'm like trying to negotiate a contract with a vendor, I may be doing math about what's a fair way for them to charge us more. Or I may be doing math when if I'm trying to understand things like let's just actually stick with that example. If I'm trying to understand what is a fair way to talk about price increases.
Inflation.
Sure, that's right. Yeah,
Well, thank you so much, Gary, for your help with Math Corners.
Thank you for having me.
And now it's time for the Heart of a Lion. As you know, we talk about the qualities of living by the Heart of a Lion, which stands for leadership, integrity, obedience, and nobility. This week, we're going to talk about obedience. For me, I think obedience is being fully committed to doing what is pleasing to God. The qualities of obedience are compliance with a good attitude and respect for the laws, and you know when someone's being obedient when they follow instructions willingly and thoroughly. So, I was at a friend's house, and his mom asked him to clean up the living room table before dinner. Now, we were playing and didn't really want to stop, but he said it needed to get done so we could eat food. Now, I really don't like cleaning up. I mean, just take one look at my computer desk and you will know, trust me. But it's not on my top of my to-do list. But my friend stopped what we were doing and started to clean up. So I went ahead and helped him because, I'm not that boring. But we got it done fast. Soon, it was all done, and we had some pizza with the rest of his family. This was a good example of him doing what his mom asked with a smile on his face. I don't know if it's because I was there or, but. So, Gary, did you see or use obedience at all this week?
What's really interesting about that question is one of the things I've been reading a lot in the Bible recently, and then even on Sunday when my pastor was preaching about how when God is explaining and giving laws and guidance to his people, he talks about obedience. Obeying his way actually brings life. So following what he teaches is less about right and wrong, and it's more about life or death. And I think that's been on my mind a lot about God actually wants us to have a fuller life versus leading towards things that are destruction prone.
Well, of all of the Heart of a Lion virtues, which is the one that you see the most?
I would say I think a lot about integrity. And the reason for that is I get the opportunity to work remotely from home. And my kid, you know how they say you need to be the same person in private that you are in public? Well, I don't even get to go to my office, if you will. My office is my home where my kids see me and where my wife sees me. And I think a lot about how am I showing up in my workplace, which is my private home. How do my kids see me? How am I coming across? Am I living the things that I teach them to do? So I think a lot about integrity.
Okay. We should always try to be lion strong in everything we do, shouldn't we?
Yeah, 100%. Those are really good values.
And that's our show, folks. I want to thank the one, the only, the amazing Gary Gramaggio for being on my show. It has been so much fun talking to you today. I think we learned a lot about being a senior principal program lead of external research and development. Man, that's a long one.
Thank you, Tiberius. I appreciate you having me on, and I think it's so cool the way that you're using it appears to me a way that you're wired, a talent that you have, and you're like cultivating it, you're developing it, and I really admire that you're doing that at such a young age.
Well, thank you. Do you mind giving your social media and website again?
So I'm I'm lame like that. I'm not on social media, but I am on LinkedIn. So just write in my name on LinkedIn, assuming that a kid has access to LinkedIn. I'm Gary Gramajo. I'm on there, and as I said before, I encourage you. You got a dream that you can turn into a company and launch it. Do it.
Okay. Also, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at The Tiberius Show. And I would like to thank WWPR 1490 AM, KI9T98, Soul Radio 24/7, EasyWay TV, and all the other stations that air my show. Now, please be sure to visit The Tiberius Show on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. Hold on. Gary, are you subscribed yet?
I'm going to be very soon.
Okay. Oh, and be sure to leave me a comment if you want to work in finding the next technologies. I answer all the comments myself. Also, be sure to listen to us next week on The Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.